guys, Ryan Canada here with Start Guys, and we are here with Gargi Agarwala.
Good morning.
And hey, if you are lost on this project, let me remind you, we are finding 90 stories in 90 days of people who have found their big and they actually started it. So identifying the big, the thing that's in your heart, that's in your gut, it's in your soul, and it pulls you towards something more. And some people, as we know, just kind of sit with that and never act upon it. But others actually start it and they go after it. And so that's why we have Gargi with us this morning to share that story, because I think you all need to hear this story. I think you're going to find it just as fascinating as I find it. Gargi is a meditation teacher, a yoga teacher. She's a life coach. She's a mom. And I want you all to hear how all of this fits together and how Gargi started her big. So Gargi, I'm going to turn things over to you. Tell us a little bit about what your big is and how you went after it.
So my big thing that I'm trying to impact in the world is really to help people have better relationships with themselves. And you were asking why some people go after it and some people don't.
Yeah.
I think it goes right back to this big that I'm chasing. It's because people don't have a relationship with themselves. I think people don't chase what they want because they don't know what they want sometimes. They end up in lives that look exactly the same day after day. And maybe there are other people's dreams that they're fulfilling, other people's wishes. And that's why my life's purpose is to get people awake and open to really what turns them on, not everybody else.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. How do you go after that? How did you first? Why do you care about it? I mean, what's the why behind it, and then how do you actually go after it?
Well, for me, I did that too. For a lot of my early years, I was trying to fulfill dreams of other people, which I didn't even check if that was a dream of the person that I was actually trying to impress, my father. It was just an assumption I'd made and a belief I had. And then I was really tired of living a life that wasn't true to me. I just knew it inside my internals, my physicality told me that I'm not, it doesn't feel right, it just doesn't feel good in my body. So that's why I went on this bigger, deeper crusade to see what makes me feel alive, what are my truths.
So can you say a little bit about that? Because I think so many people in this audience will have that same feeling of something doesn't feel right. But what is it that doesn't feel right about that? I think so many of us have experienced that. So how do you describe that? What doesn't feel right when you're not living that path?
I think how you feel. So for me, I was always tired. Didn't have a skip in my step. Didn't feel freedom. Freedom of expression, freedom of thought. Always being somebody else. I was always wearing a mask. I was really tired of wearing a mask. And wasn't able to be my childlike self. I am that way, and I think when I'm 90 I'll still be this way. And I kind of learned to really shove that somewhere else and be proper and be grown up and do what I was supposed to do. So I was really lucky. I have a husband who's just very wonderful and very real himself. So I wasn't stuck with a fake, thank God. And we moved from America to Europe. So I couldn't. It was a great time for me, that disruption, that change of scenery, change of environment let me say, okay, here's my opportunity to rediscover myself. I don't have to go back to that job that I'm doing so that I can feel very important. Not everybody gets that, I guess. I got a chance and I was maybe awake enough to see it and jump on it. So I think that's a really key point as well, of seeing the platform or seeing that opening when it's there and then diving into it.
And so talk about it. Talk with us about some of the fears and struggles in going after that. Because as you just said, it would be really easy to stay in that cycle. This is all there is for me. It's easy, though there's always something more pulling you, and so maybe in some sense it's uneasy. But what are the fears and struggles that come about when you actually decide to go after it? And can I preface it with a
Yeah,
story?
yeah.
Because I will always remember this story. I met Gargi probably sometime about a year ago, and this has stuck with me when you said you took your kids into it was a hospice care, right? It was a hospice care center, and you said it was because death was one of the things that scared you most, so you knew you had to do this thing, and I find that so compelling. That the things that scare us most
give us our biggest indicators. It's like life saying, ding, 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 come closer to this.
Yes, and what culture teaches us is the things that scare you most, stay away from those things. Tell us about that.
Oh, I think that was a further down the journey for me. My first foray into meeting what scares me head on was when we moved to Europe, and I had this moment now of, okay, what am I going to do with this? Am I just going to keep on living that same old lie and that same old life? And I think I felt death. I was dying by living a lie. That's another reason of why I decided I've got to do something about this. I didn't feel alive. And the truth is, I think when we're not growing, we're dying.
Yes, yes.
So although growth never comes wrapped in tissue paper, it comes wrapped in sandpaper, which is ironic. That's why we stay away from growth.
Yeah.
It hurts, it rubs, it scuffs.
Yeah, there's pain involved.
There's pain involved, for sure. That's the struggle you're talking about. So I'm not really sure where the epiphany of that was, that without growth you die.
Yep.
That was probably the first part. And then, who cares anyway? I think we all feel so, not important, but that everybody else is watching us, and what will everybody else think? Really, I don't think so. I think people are too involved with what they think about themselves, me included. And I suddenly shed that fear of other people's opinions. I'm not really sure how it happened, to be perfectly honest with you. Thank God it did. And that's why I chased what I wanted and said things like, death scares me, I better go closer to it, because that's the only way I'm going to find out what am I scared of. And actually now death doesn't scare me whatsoever. I actually think the fireworks are on that side
the
of
other side.
Yeah.
And it's so true. We get caught up in thinking that everyone is concerned with how are we going to look. I mean, think of how much of our lives we spend comparing ourselves to others, and that never works out well for us. And the truth is, I think you nailed it. They're not watching us like we think. They're too wrapped up in their own lives to be wrapped up in ours, but our ego tells us, no, that they care about what we're doing, and they're invested in they're invested in what they're doing.
Yeah. And for a nanosecond, they may have an opinion. But you know what? I think the only opinion that we really have the right to care about is our own opinion of ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think, a lot of self-development books, self-growth books, spiritual books, then this practice of yoga and meditation, for me, has brought me in communion with me. I have a strong sense of my own interior landscape. My journey and my competition is with myself.
Yep.
So yoga and meditation are tools for me to develop a better relationship with me. And that's why I want to teach it, and that's my big why. I can see how much richer life is, and I certainly don't mean this way.
Yeah.
When you have a relationship with yourself. And we learn, we're taught right from a young age how to have relationships with our siblings, how to please our parents, how to then have really good friendships or keep our friends so that they keep on liking us.
Yeah.
Then we transition into relationships, and then our own children, grandparents. So we're always having relationships outside of ourselves, and nobody along the way is teaching us how to have a relationship with ourselves.
With ourselves.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I want to highlight your book, and then after that I want you to talk about the project we've been working on, Project Freedom Forward, which is how I met Gargi. So talk about that in just a moment, but I want to highlight her new book. When was this released?
December of last year.
December of last year. Wealthy Ways, 8 Counterintuitive Steps to Longevity, Self-Care, and Inner Freedom. And notice the wealthy, not the W-E-A, but W-E-L-L-T-H-Y. Should I get a little closer so y'all can see it? I highly recommend this book. You will get some of Gargi's thinking and perspectives on the issue she's talking about here. And tell us, where can we get this book?
You can buy it on Amazon, or you can go to wealthywaysbook.com, and order it there. It's kind of interesting how the publisher that I worked with for this book brought this about. So it's an interactive book. There are actually meditations in it, as you know, and recipes for different things you can drink, not like the black coffee I'm having right now, to sustain your health and your energy levels and vitality. So it's an interactive book. There are other things in there than just words. So.
Yes, yes. So highly recommend it, Wealthy Ways, 8 Counterintuitive Steps to Longevity, Self-Care, and Inner Freedom. And so Gargi, I want to close things with you telling us about the project we're working on, Project Freedom Forward, because I think it has everything to do with what you were talking about, and stepping into your big and taking risks and getting rid of all the fear, or maybe a better way to say this, stepping into that fear. So tell us a little bit about it and some of the experiences along the way.
So after my experience of, being scared of death and then going to hospice and working through that, this next drum, as I call it, a drum, an internal drum, and that's what happens when you start having a relationship with yourself. You get this drum, you get this calling, this voice.
And she talks about this inner drum all the time, so this is very key to who you are, is listening to that drum that's beating inside of us.
Yeah, and so that drum was beating and saying, take this work that you're doing and take it where there isn't so much focus and isn't so much light. And another big thing of having a relationship with yourself or knowing when to jump is looking for signs. Reading signs in your life that can direct you. So one sign that came up was watching a documentary on the Angola prison with my son, and seeing the grace and humanity of those inmates. That was one thing that started that drum beating. And then watching a Oprah, one of her talks that she was doing with Shako Sankor. He was incarcerated for many years.
Powerful video.
Powerful video, and I'd sent that to you,
yes,
actually.
Yes.
So there's just these constant signs of saying that's maybe where this light needs to go, or this work needs to go, is to prisons. And again, I was fearful of prisons, I'll be honest. I've never been in a prison until recently. And we formed a group, Project Freedom Forward, to bring freedom to those who are incarcerated or struggling, through love, compassion, understanding, and some of these tools of finding yourself. So Ryan and I and another good friend, Melinda, had presented at one of the very maximum security prisons here in Colorado, Florence, and I remember starting my part of the speech by saying that a lot of people in the free world, they call the rest of the world the free world, they're also in prison. There aren't any physical bars, but when you're in prison up here, you're not free.
Yes, so true.
So that was the start of our work, and we helped them. Ryan went through Storyline with them, and it was a really powerful experience.
Yeah, very powerful. Very powerful. And this was just on Monday morning, and it's been a long week. So thank you for being with us today, Gargi. Any final words from you?
Yeah, get closer to who you are. Spend time with yourself rather than just your phone, or use your phone to listen to a meditation app or something that brings you closer to you, and go after whatever it is that makes you feel alive, because that's what the world needs. We don't need to find out what the world, how to fix it. Just find out how to make yourself feel alive, and that's actually what the world really needs.
Go to the places that bring you life. Go to where the energy is. All right, thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in today. We have more stories rolling out soon, each and every day for 90 days. Thank you for being with us, Gargi. It's an honor.